For today's podcast, Dr. Smith, you're back with us, and it is time once again for a board recap podcast. We had a Board of Trustees meeting. It was actually 2 days ago on Monday, which was the 5th. And so if you want to take it away, and we'll go through the agenda.
You bet. Be glad to. So once again, just to remind the public how you can get to the site, if you go on our webpage, go to About Us, then click on the Board of School Trustees, and then where it says Board Docs, click on that. And then to access board docs, to find the current meeting or archive school board meeting information, simply click here and it will take you straight to the board docs site. Then as soon as that is pulled up, click on, in this case, Monday, the 5th of April, and then you can click on view the agenda, and then we'll just go right down the list and discuss somewhat briefly, because this is a pretty typical meeting, I believe.
Sure.
We did add good news in, and
We did. That's always fun, and we're happy to do it.
yes, and that basically presenting the candidates for Educator of the Year.
You know, we're always so proud of that. I think in this one, we went through all of our finalists, and we had many representing educators throughout Vanderburgh County. And in fact, just today, the winners were announced. So we're so proud of the winners, so proud of all those finalists.
Absolutely, and certainly do appreciate the sponsorship of the University of Evansville, the Courier and Press, and then certainly the Evansville Teachers Federal Credit Union.
Definitely.
So then, moving into consent items, the minutes of the March 8th regular board meeting were approved, and if you'd like to click on those minutes, you can simply do that by going to View Minutes, click on that, and it will pull them up. Consideration of allowance of payments. This was an amount that was larger than what we typically see, because we had 2 pays in this period of time for the allowance of payments. So approval of allowance of payments of that $17,921,463.38. As I said, a little bit larger than typical or normal, but you can pull up all 25 pages and see what the board approved. Moving on to 3.03. This is somewhat unusual in that we are joining a class action suit with many districts, not only in Indiana, but across the nation, really against the Juul and the e-cigarette litigation. So there really is no cost to EVSC on this, and we do hope that it gains some traction.
Certainly, the vaping issue is definitely something that's very dangerous for health, and it's for students across the nation. Unfortunately, have been attracted to that at some point in time, in some instances. So we're hoping to do anything we can to help keep our kids safe.
Correct. And item 3.04, we've had this on the agenda many times. This will be the last time that you see this item on the agenda, because we have decided to extend the Family First Coronavirus Response Act through the end of the school academic year. So this will now extend those days through May the 28th of 2021. And then finally, under consent, consideration to approve the agreement with Mass Insight Education and Research. This is due to accountability requirements for Harwood Career Preparatory Academy. Mass Insight, who has become a really valued partner with EVSC, will conduct an audit as required for accountability. It's also basically a comprehensive need assessment to identify strengths and weaknesses, as well as support for school improvement planning for the 2021 or 21-22 school year.
And they've really been a great partner, an excellent thought partner. They certainly work with schools across the nation, and that's been a really valuable partnership for us over the years.
And then you can see the contract here. You're welcome to click on it and then to read that contract with Mass Insight. Then we go on to personnel recommendations. So if you would like to see all of the transactions, just bear in mind we have 3,400 employees. We are one of the largest employers in this region, and you can see all of the transactions with our employees right there under personnel.
And an interesting thing you've lifted in meetings before is that on any given year, teachers, you may have more or less retirements just based on age and when people are ready to make that decision. And so far this year, we're actually seeing a decline in people that are going to be retiring or resigning because they're leaving town for a spouse, that type of thing.
Yes, those numbers are actually down significantly, and we're pleased with that.
Absolutely.
We do love our teachers and all of our employees.
Sure.
So, and happy when they're staying. So now moving on to action items, you will see that the first action item is the consideration to award the contract for the AIS Diamond Boiler Project. What you did not see when it was just under consideration as information would be what we call the bid tab. So we'll open this up just as an example. You can see the companies that bid. You can see the company highlighted here that then was the lowest best bid. These are requirements of all companies, the bid bond, Form 96, and financial statement. All of those things are required. And then you will see the base bid amount. And you will also see the architect as well as the project.
And that really goes along with what we've said all along since we started doing these board meeting recaps, and that is the documentation is right here. So if you're a member of the public in our community and you want to see it, click on it. It's all right there.
Absolutely. Moving on to item 5.02, consideration to approve the contract for the middle school or the Mcgarry Middle School Chiller Project. So we click on that. Once again, you see all of the companies that bid as well as their pricing. And this one, we actually took both alternates, but there we'll see in subsequent bids where we just pick and choose what alternates we want to accept. And I think that actually is the case here in 5.03. That's the contract for the Perry Heights Chiller Project. Nope, that's not the case. That's one coming up. But you will see here that Haas Mechanical was the low best bid for Perry Heights. Then moving on to 5.04, I think this is it with Stringtown Roofing, because oftentimes there are a lot of alternates that we put in, and then we will select which ones we take. This bid was won by Midwest Roofing. You can see their base bid as well as the alternate, in this case 1B as well as 4A that was selected. Then moving on to the final construction project that is on for consideration as action item at this board meeting. It was the Harrison Roof Project. And then you can see that was won by Lehman Roofing.
You know, it's interesting, Dr. Smith, when you look at these first 5 action items from last Monday's meeting, all fall under facilities projects, not necessarily those glitzy projects that you see when you walk in. We're not talking about changing lighting and things like that. These are things, though, to maintain facilities like we've been committed to for many years in the EVSC. You have to take care of, whether it's your chillers and your boilers and your parking lots and your roofs, that type of thing.
Correct. Yes, this goes beyond cosmetics. This is making certain that our facilities stay nice and watertight, that our mechanical systems are in great repair and up to date. Moving on to action item 5.06, this is consideration to award the contract for internet access presented by our Chief Technology Officer, Stacy Mauser. You can see the different vendors. This was actually a rubric in terms of scoring. You can see that the points that they were awarded. And then you can see what the monthly cost was. So this went to the lowest best bid. One of the considerations put in here was that a bid was not necessarily complete because there was not consideration given to ease of implementation in terms of the time and the other labor that would be required to change vendors. That was left open. So that was, while one could suggest it was a complete bid, it really wasn't, because there was no way to estimate that cost. Moving forward to 5.07. Now, the next two are updates to policies. Transportation policy was updated to incorporate changes in state law, as well as changes that included the annual review of the routes for their safety. And then the definition and use of special purpose buses were updated in state law. And then also the loading and unloading of students on U.S. and state routes. There's a requirement that we review that every year. So that was updated in Policy 8600. And then finally, action item 5.08, which was an update to Policy 7434, which is the use of tobacco on school property. And it basically has been revised to reflect changes to the Indiana Code.
You know, I think it's important for people to keep in mind, too, when you think of the Roberts Rule of Order process that we follow at school board meetings. School board members can ask questions when an item is presented initially for an information item. They can ask questions during the board meeting at the next meeting when it's up for action before they vote. But of course, during that time in between, they're reaching out to you if they have questions, they're reviewing the information. So there are a lot of opportunities that board members take because they take this role very seriously. It's not like they're just hearing it and voting on it.
Absolutely. And if there are things that are out of the ordinary or not usual transactions, we certainly will make certain that we provide all the information to board members prior to actually even presenting it as an information item.
Okay.
So then moving on to information items, and we have several from this past board meeting. The first is the consideration to award the contract for Central High School entrance repair and stadium turf project. So you will see this is presented as an information item, so you don't have all of the information from all the contractors that bid, but you do have the recommendation. And in this case, it's recommended that the board accept the base bid amount from ARC Construction in the amount of $734,900 plus alternate bid number 2 for $31,280 plus alternate bid number 3 for $10,610, and on and on and on. So one will see what the recommendation is, as you just alluded to, Jason. Then the board has ample time to ask questions over that intervening 2-week period of time, and we certainly want to make certain that we do respond to all the board member questions. Now we're getting into some curricular and content. For item 6.02, this is once again still information, but Newsly is a database of current event stories that are made specifically for the classroom, or teachers do like that resource. And you will see that this is for grades 2 through 12. Okay. Then additionally, in item 6.03, Achieve 3000. This we've used for a number of years, and it's an online program that provides access to grade level standards line content that is specific to a student's Lexile level.
And I may clarify too, Dr. Smith, is that you see the names here, and those tend to be the department heads, the chief level position over those individual departments. Some people may ask, why would Daryl Angermeyer, who we always see his name when it comes to facility issues because he is the head of our facilities, textbook rental also falls under our Office of Facilities, the way we organize it. So if you're looking at this thinking, wait, he's always talking about roofs and things like that, why is he talking about curriculum resources? That is why. It's because of our organization.
Correct. But additionally, Wendy Wells, our director of curriculum,
Absolutely.
was also presenting by his side Monday night. This is, I think, a great example of where a particular initiative crosses many different areas and organizational structures. It does not